Welcome to Being Human Life Institute. And Chris, thank you so much for joining us, joining our webinar tonight, where we're going to provide an overview and some experience and insight about the course on advanced transformational coaching and facilitative leadership. And I'd like to share a little bit about our mission. The Being Human Life Institute mission is really to build community and new systems within a paradigm of listening, communicating, coaching, facilitation, and leadership with our hearts and our minds. And as our name expresses, we really are about being human in this new emerging era and bridging and creating a new paradigm for helping people and ourselves continue to accelerate and transform through this vast, deep time of change. And so as we exist to build a global community, we are really here to support certified and licensed practitioners, coaches, and leaders who are perhaps in practice or have been in practice for some time and who are really feeling compelled to lift to a new expansive level of consciousness and empowered transformational coaching and facilitative leadership. And we really are here to help ourselves and all who we serve to align and integrate our whole being into our coaching and into our facilitation skills and our leadership competencies as we assist and guide others in their own personal process of empowered transformation. A little bit about how we got here. Michelle and I and Teresa have been working together in building this robust and comprehensive curriculum to assist in accelerating full potential and advancing our coaching, our facilitative and practitioner leadership competencies for the new era. So what that means is that we'll be focusing on creating space and the capacity for transformation and expansion of consciousness. And we're referring to this phase of our course as opening the portal. And each of these items that are listed here in number are reflective of the modules that we are providing on a monthly basis. So the second module or the second month will be focused on broadening perspectives and building our communication skills and our leadership skills to facilitate personal and professional mastery in ourselves and others, whether we're working privately with individuals or we're working with groups or supporting systems and community. The third month module will focus on walking the path of transformation, leading ourselves and others. And there's a deep dive that we take into building and enhancing the various intelligences and through assessment and self-knowledge and awareness and exploring our intuitive gifts and walking the path of transformation as we step into embodiment of who we are as coaches and leaders. The fourth module will be about embodiment, embodying the transformation, expanding our energy regulation and our communication relational skills. And in the expansion of energy, we'll be exploring energetic practices designed to help reframe and release limiting blocks and patterns that result in negative self-talk, and working with different energy practices that are a part of the process of personal transformation. And then in the fifth month, living the path of evolutionary transformation. What is it to live as a modern mystic? What is it to be a part of a conscious co-creator in the implementation and the visioning and the reimagining of the new human era, and what it means to be human, living in the changing world that we live in. And the 6th month will be about sustaining the transformation and mastery as a way of life. Not only are we embodying it, but how are we putting this knowledge and these competencies and our expansion in our consciousness into practical life and everyday application. The 7th month or module is going to provide a bonus month of supporting our participants in the course in integration, mutual sharing, and coaching, mentoring, support. And whatever that might look like, there's fluidity throughout the month, but it's really all about providing continuous and ongoing support once we complete the core 6 modules. So just a little bit about me. Very briefly, the Being Human Life Institute was created as an outgrowth of the collaborative, co-creative programs, retreats, and immersion series that Michelle and I had been working on since 2018. And as the original founder of Being Human Life, we determined that what we really were feeling called to create was an institute where we would have an embodied community, and this would be a growing global community of practitioners and coaches and leaders, where we could forge a beautiful network of other leaders who might, begin to represent Being Human Life and the Institute and in your own services, to be able to expand a broad network that would be available to support transformation. And so Michelle and I are the original co-creators of the Being Human Life Institute, and Teresa has joined us as senior faculty in the curriculum design and the development, which has been greatly enhanced, and we've deepened it into a very robust model. And we feel that what we're doing is creating leading edge programs, retreats, and offerings that are going to really carry well into the new era. Just very briefly about me, I have a lot of experience in transformational coaching, having owned and developed a integrative wellness coaching and development center. And my greatest passion is to facilitate my clients' transpersonal process to recognizing and claiming and owning as they live in alignment with their birthright. So welcome, we're glad you're here. Michelle, would you like to share?
Thank you very much, Nina, for kicking us off and sharing this vision that we are very excited to be exploring, and that seems to be emerging through the three of us. I am Michelle Ray, as Nina has said, and we've been working on this project and through Being Human Life Institute now for a number of years. I also have several decades under my belt, so to speak, of experience with coaching, both individually and in groups and in organizations. And I have a real passion for this transformative time that we're living in, this new era that seems to be emerging. And we have a number of systems throughout our societies across the planet that are not working very well. And it totally lights me up to find people who are interested in really taking a look at imagining, visioning where we are going, who we are becoming, and to understand that in community, what we can co-create, it far out visions and is actually at another higher level of consciousness than us as individuals. So my master's is in human development. I have a background as in pharmacy as well as in being a nationally board certified health and wellness coach. And it's really an honor at this point in all three of our careers to be master coaches and to look to support other people, other leaders, visionaries, coaches, practitioners who want to take their practice to that next level and usher in this new era. And I'll pass it to you, Teresa.
Michelle, thank you. It is truly a delight to co-create with Michelle and Nina. We all have different strengths and they are so complementary as we bring this work forward. I'm one of the senior faculty, as Nina mentioned, and I have been coaching for 20 years in a number of settings, both with individuals and in private practice, but also in corporate back office health coaching, as well as personal coaching, and really doing a lot of work in leadership and healthcare, using coaching skills all along. And beyond our work together in the Being Human Life, I have done a lot of work with people around actually the topic of creativity, which is one of my favorite, as well as really learning to lean into and follow and trust our deeper calling, or as Nina called it, that sort of our human blueprint. What is our essence and how do we align our life with that? So that is what I do in my private practice. Met with a client who recently told me, I feel like you're a midwife for the life that's really meant for me. And that feels really true for me. And I also have done a lot of educating of health and wellness coaches as a faculty member of the University of Minnesota and also University of California, Irvine. So I am so pleased to, as Michelle and Nina have both said in their own way, take this opportunity. All three of us are being called to offer the cutting edge, the next level, the space where people who are meant to step up and lead and guide and help usher in this new era can expand their skills and learn how to stabilize and respond to what's emerging on every level. So we want to start with a little overview of Module 1, just to give you some flavor. So this is where the program would start. And as we mentioned before, it's so important if we're going to embark on a new journey that we make space for it. And often in our Western culture, it's like try to do more and more and more and never make space for something new. And we actually feel the reason why we call it opening the portal is we want to call forward different capacity, different space in you and your life. And we do that through a number of things. First, defining the landscape of the new era. Like, what are we talking about when we say the new era? What are the trends we're noticing? What are the qualities? What are the principles that really can take people to that next level, that cutting edge that's right there available to usher things in? And look at the theories. There's so many theories of transformation, human development, and really just how do we sit in evolutionary transformation ourselves, in our relationships, and as a collective. So we have so many things we can pull from as we navigate these times. And also talk about really the transformation we are making as leaders in a lot of different ways, from being more transactional and just trying to push and make things happen to being in a transformational place where things are arising and we are responding. And it becomes, everything we do becomes transformational and allows a broader space for everyone who's participating. Talking about the tenets of facilitative leadership and change agency, that's one thing the three of us all do in our own way and we feel so passionate about. We need different leadership skills being used on our planet and in our globe if we're going to usher in the new era. Looking at our own practices like the witness perspective to really develop as a human. How do I stay in a position of neutral witnessing of my life while also participating? We have to hold both. Using assessment so that we can accelerate and amplify our self-awareness, which is one of our greatest tools, as well as knowledge and understanding, and then create standards of presence of how we're going to show up for one another as we move forward. And so what is transformation? Why does it matter? I feel like if we don't know what transformation is, we haven't been looking because it's happening all around us all of the time. But what we're talking about that's maybe a little different is this conscious transformation. How do we become responsive to opportunities to move forward to new possibilities in life, to new perspectives, to new eras that are emerging? How do we step into them? And to new skills and abilities that are arising. And I want to just share real briefly, I had a conversation with a spiritual teacher I've worked with for many years, and we were talking about yesterday about stepping into a new life and how we are so conditioned to carry the bag of bones from our old life forward into our new one. And it's this opportunity I think we have as we're watching so many things crumble to simply not pick up the bag or not carry the rock, let it be. And so learning how to live in this space between where we have no idea, it's all that's around us is uncertainty, but also there is so much possibility. And so I want to just honor and witness this sort of lost art of learning how to be in the spaces between that bring forward new possibilities that were not possible before. My
Thank you,
apologies,
Teresa.
there's
No,
a slight delay. Thank you, Michelle.
it's perfect. I appreciate both of your wisdom. And so just from this webinar perspective, we wanted to offer a few nuggets of the teachings, and we're also going to do an experiential. Teresa's going to lead us in a guided visualization and activation. But as we think about the old era and new era, here's one tool, one beginning of the conversation. As Teresa is saying, what are those rocks that have got us to where we are now? And we maybe even use them as building blocks, but it's time to put them down, right? Time to recycle them back to the earth, time to pass them off, and maybe they'll be a stepping stone for somebody else. But to be able to think for a few minutes to identify what are the things in yourself, in society that we're tired of, that we've outgrown. They might look like blame, victimhood, scarcity, polarization, greed, right? Entitlement, domination, discrimination, depletion. We've seen all of those rise to the surface and come into our awareness more and more in the transparency. And yes, there can be some fear in the uncertainty, but we are really about finding each other, building community, and co-imagining what this new era could feel like, look like, where everybody counts, where there are systems in place where every human being is nurtured into their fullness, that the land is taken care of, right? All that we share this planet with, all life is respected. So more transparency, mutually beneficial decisions, right? Recognizing and honoring diversity and our interconnectedness, which we'll talk a bit more about, really shifting our entire mindset to understand that we are one network and that there is an abundance, there is an enoughness, right? This is also a mindset, but it's really present if we're looking for it, right? Gratitude practices, finding the common good, and really moving towards that freedom, not just in a good idea and a language, but how do we bring that into our daily life, into our work setting, into our practice, into the teams that we lead, whether we're formally leading or informally leading, and how do we increase our facilitation skills? So another takeaway for you for today is to really consider some of the theories that are out there. There are maps for transformation, for growth, for tapping into that creativity, as Teresa was talking about, to look at, like with new eyes, possibilities that are emerging that were not there in our mind, in the mind of humanity. There are some excellent teachings out there and maps out there. And Teresa and Nina and I have done I think a really amazing job of researching the most cutting edge and current literature and putting it together in a way that's palpable. So we will have an opportunity to invite you from this webinar to take a look at these theories, and you can do your own research on them and grow your own skills. In addition, if you decide to do the 6-month course with the 7-month bonus, we're going to offer one-on-one coaching every month with one of the three of us. We're also going to give you an opportunity to have a workbook or playbook to take the theories, apply them to your life. And we're also going to dedicate 1 week to having the participants in this course do some teaching, lead an experience, right? To really be able to take things from the theory into practice. Another theme that runs throughout our time together today in this webinar is we're really inviting you to get to know yourself at multiple levels of truth, of multiple realms of dimensions of reality. So yes, we have our individual self where we end at the end of our skin, and we want to take really good care of ourselves, right? Our bodies, our hearts, our minds, be good citizens in the world. And everyone, I'm assuming, that is interested in this topic from this level of mindfulness and from a quantum level recognizes that I, in this vessel, am also very interconnected in what I think, maybe in my dreams, in intuition, and noticing synchronicity. And how do we cultivate those ways of perceiving myself in order to stabilize it and have a sustainable access to ways of knowing that are much more subtle than just the five senses? And how do we encourage each other to fall open through exercise, through experientials, into that unity consciousness, to know that we carry the energy of the all that is through us, with us, as us, and in it, us, and our unique expression in the world is divinely guided, the divine blueprint that Nina was talking about. I'm going to turn it back to you, Nina.
Thanks, Michelle. So as we're looking at consciousness and awareness, we are really going to be taking a deeper dive into self-discovery and self-awareness. So in support of understanding what we can learn about ourselves through interesting and dynamic assessment, looking at internal reflection around the assessments looking at emotional, relational, conversational, and spiritual intelligence, and how we can utilize both energy practices and reflective practices that deepen our levels of awareness of ourselves beyond our egoic identity, but more into that deeper depth of who I am as a being, a whole being in spirit, body, heart, mind. And so we begin to tap into, through the thread or the stream of intuition, we make discoveries about our intuitive gifts and where the essence of discernment arises from, as we begin to really embody more expeditious skills in our capacity to simply stand as a detached observer and a witness of our reactions, our responses, our emotions, our thoughts, our feelings, and our energy. So as we are given a really great deep dive experience into this, we begin to use the witness perspective that supports us to build and deepen our awareness, which is really the term that supports the expansion of consciousness and who we are as an embodied whole human being. So as we move towards higher consciousness, we will begin to look at how we broaden our perspectives and build our skills to really truly become very skillful in facilitating personal and professional transformation. So we'll explore applications of metaphysical and some of the more esoteric applications of psychology, looking at transpersonal psychology, positive psychology, and transpersonal eco-psychology, moving beyond the transactional approach to working one-on-one with an individual, but rather holding space and having the capacity to be able to dynamically flow with ease, working with an individual through all of the different facets of who they are. We'll understand and apply strategies for how we can deepen our spiritual, social, and relational and emotional intelligences. And we'll review intuition in the context of our intelligence quotients, the discoveries that we'll be making around our intuitive gifts will be really a lot of fun. And we'll look at how we develop the skill of holding space and presence in what we refer to as the liminal space, the liminal space that is the space of transformation. As coaches, we sometimes learn about liminal space as the zone of coaching, the coaching zone. But really, we're talking about the space of what we once knew in the old era, the old paradigm, and what we're moving toward, but we're not quite there yet. We'll look at applying mindfulness practices. And by mindfulness practices, we're talking about applying standards of presence, holding presence, creating and holding sacred space, what that means, what that feels like. And in that context, we create an energetic bubble. And so we begin to explore transformation and how transformation and deep change occurs energetically. So as we explore intuition, we'll also be looking at the theories of intention and attraction and manifestation, the universal laws of synchronicity, and the concepts that are available to us in the broader ecosystem of existence to facilitate progression toward mastery. We'll discuss the energetics of self-healing. How do we heal, truly heal ourselves, whether it's on a conscious level, unconscious level, through the body, through the mind, through the spirit, or through the emotional body. And we'll experience guided exercises, discussions, shares, and practices. At the same time, we'll really take time to celebrate and to share ritual and ceremony in coaching, leading, and serving. And so as we really are focused on human transformation, as we look at developing our various intelligences beyond the traditional view of intelligence, which is really how do we perceive and comprehend, examine, analyze, and reflect? How do we respond to circumstances through thought, analysis? But beyond that, we're really going to dive into something that science and leadership is beginning to take very seriously in recognizing the importance of emotional, relational, conversational, and spiritual intelligence. We're finding more research through Harvard Business School and through Fast Company and various reputable resources talking about the most important intelligence moving into the new era is going to be spiritual intelligence. And we believe that in being a whole human is to embody all of our innate capacity, where we only use a certain percentage of our brain, but there's so much more available to us to light up in who we are as we become whole and we create happy and fulfilling lives. So we'll look at how these intelligences can be developed and deepened, recognizing that we all have multiple capacities that have strong implications for transformation.
Thank you, Nina. One of the areas that we have had a lot of fun teaching and exploring has been our clairs. And I think as the science is showing us, as humans are developing and going through this evolutionary shift, we are becoming more porous, more able to apprehend information from the subtle realms, from the quantum realm, the morphic field, the soul level. And so we are intending to play a bit more on looking at the different clairs, clairsentient, clairvoyance, and be able to help us to identify the ways that we perceive beyond our five senses, as well as very specific tools to assist in the development of that. So if this webinar, again, we're going to offer as a takeaway, take a look at, if you want to, between now and hopefully seeing you again for a longer period of time, look at the clairs, take a look at what resonates with you and what you would like to play with, because this is one area that we are definitely seeing in humans as we're evolving into being much more telepathic. Another area that we consider crucial to ushering in this new era is how we are in conversation, in relationship with each other. There's a whole new body of work now on conversational and relational intelligence. We know that the way we communicate, part of it is our words, part of it is nonverbal, right? Tones, body language. But what we're seeing is those of us who have an eye on where we are headed, what we are want to co-create, we are challenging any lower old era vibrational hating on language we're hearing, or pick sides, or divisiveness, or polarity, and we're not buying it. And we need to find each other, develop our skills. So again, a takeaway for you, take a look at the research on this on your own, look at nonviolent communication, and look at ways that we can get clear on expressing what we're experiencing, what we're feeling, what we need, what we envision. And also, maybe even most importantly, develop our ability to deeply listen, to ask powerful questions. Whether it's you're the CEO of an organization, or whether you're having a one-on-one conversation with a staff person, you want to be able to move into that space where you build trust, where you don't put someone on an amygdala hijack, right, and protect and defend, and now we're not able to access our executive functioning. We want to encourage each other to learn the skills, to deepen our skills, to be able to move forward, to find common ground, and to create everything from policies to societies, to healthcare, to education, to politics, to financial systems that really do carry the vibration of an interconnected conversational and relational intelligence. The last piece I'm going to mention before I turn it over to Teresa is what we can do something about is our mindset. And as Teresa was talking about earlier with rocks, right, and Nina's sharing many stories of the old era in how we can witness ourselves, our witness perspective. Can you notice if you're negative, if you're pessimistic, if you're a victim, if you're giving your power away? And only when we notice through mindfulness practice, we can have that pause and we can make a different choice in our mindset. We can look at failure as an opportunity to learn something. We can look at getting comfortable with the unfamiliar and discomfort and the uncertainty. Our own attitude, our own perspective, our own capacity to reframe moves us into a very positively moving forward, impactful mindset that is open for growth. And we are going to practice that, learn about it, encourage it in each other, hold unconditional positive regard, and really enhance our skills to be able to provide opportunity to create the space for others to do the same and step into their power. The last piece I'll say then is the presence. So this is a piece that you can feel. It's a radiance, right? So when you're in your ego, when you're full of fear, when you're quivering, yes, if that's the highest good and that's where you are in that moment, have at it, multiple times a day. I find myself there, but I want to notice, I want to do my practice as we're talking about, and move back into a larger capacity, my interdependent self, where I have access to my soul, where I have access to the subtle energies and ways of knowing. This presence, our radiating our presence, is a huge gift anywhere we are walk on the planet, and we want to develop and encourage that in each other. All right, Teresa, I'm going to turn it over to you here with the liminal space.
Thank you, Michelle. Yeah, so, one of the things, I think I mentioned it briefly, but I want to say more about is the space between. It's called liminal space. And we tend to try to avoid it in Western culture for sure. We want to have a path and move forward quickly, but actually when there is waiting, that is where true new possibilities can arise. And I want to read a short reading from T.S. Eliot that I think beautifully describes liminal space. I said to my soul, be still and wait without hope. for hope would be hope for the wrong thing. Wait without love, for love would be love of the wrong thing. Yet there is faith, but the faith and the love and the hope are all in the waiting. Wait without thought, for you are not ready for thought. So the darkness shall be light, and the stillness your dancing. So I just leave you with that quote about this opportunity in liminal space that we want to bring all of you into as we work through some of this work in the 7 months together, creating space, trusting things we can't see, the uncertainty, and moving forward despite it all. And then, of course, we have, as Michelle and Nina have both said in their own way, we have so many things we can look to, and more science and spirituality have often been thought of as two polar opposites, back to polarity, which is, such a funny dance right now in our world. But the more you look, the more you see how they actually flow together. And in particular, when you look at the scientific fields of like quantum physics, we start to realize how interconnected everything is. And by simply looking at something or being in relationship in any small way with something, we change it. And so we can start to see the expanse of the interconnectedness through a number of fields, psychology, as we mentioned, neuroscience as well, how our minds work and how consciousness works. We have so much to play with as we expand our definition of both science and spirituality and see them as connected instead of different. And in particular, all three of us, if I might just say out loud, I believe are sort of nerds on one hand. We have this love of the science and the pieces and parts who have gone before us and paved ways, as Michelle or Nina said, I don't remember who. But as we look to this time of deep potential, there is so much possibility, and we do it through development and transformation. We are designed for change. And I think sometimes our Western culture has made us forget that that actually is what we are craving. Impermanence is the only thing you can count on. And so we want to be in a space where we are leaning into that innate potential in all of us and seeking the deeper meaning, our purpose, our well-being at newer and newer levels. And letting go of and loving even, one of the things I'm really focusing on in my work with people is learning to love when that ego does show up and we're protecting ourselves and we're in a victim place. We're doing that for a good reason, and we just need to love on it instead of criticize it, because that doesn't help anything. So how can we, even in those moments of feeling very small, meet it with as much love as possible, so that in general, as we want to expand, we are developing self-compassion that propels us to the next level over and over. All right. And yes, I mentioned quantum physics and human transformation. And really, it's this reminder that it's all in us. I think we are often taught to operate in such a small sliver of what is possible for us. And so this quantum world, or this multiple dimension, multiple reality possibility, is that there are things, some people call them timelines, where we could step into a new reality by making one decision, or we could step into a new reality by completely changing a pattern that we've been holding for a long time. And so the way to do that is to not just keep the same slivered, narrow mindset, but to step into our energetic awareness, our spiritual awareness, our mind, body, spirit. There's so many pieces. And when we use them all, what's possible expands. So with that in mind, one of the things we want to do is give you an experience of activation. So I'm going to invite you, as we just sort of practice everything we've talked about, to find a comfortable, relaxed position, letting your body get seated in the chair in a way that is supportive, nurturing, and allows you to let go of any grasping of your body. And maybe take a deeper breath and let your mind start to quiet and soften. There's nothing for you to remember right now. We're going to let go of thinking, changing, fixing, improving, taking anything in. We're just going to soften and release and relax. And if there's any tension in your body, you might find it's been a full day. Maybe you wiggle a little or touch something that needs some love. Whatever it is that's needed, we take the time to do that now. And then noticing our heart, which sometimes with all we're digesting and processing gets closed off and a little hardened. And we absolutely just want to soften and relax and release and open our heart to this moment right here, right now, with all of us together, whether in person in this virtual reality or someone watching in the future. We are all right here, right now. So I invite you to find that place in you. Each person's might be a little different, in which that divine spark that is uniquely yours resides. And you'll know because you feel it. You'll be drawn to it. You simply notice the color of the light there and the energy that resides in it that is so unique. No one else has it. And we let it open and expand and move through every cell in our body, every thought in our mind. We just open and expand, letting it rapidly move through us, that spark. And as we breathe and let it expand, we recognize the place outside of us where our energy resides, where our emotions might be living. We simply bring that same spark of light that is uniquely ours to every place in between. We open our heart to fully give the gifts we came here to give in the way that only we can give them. We open our mind to be touched by the divine blueprint of energy that is here to support us in the mission we were designed to bring forward. And we send our energy like a song out into the world, knowing it is received. And notice that that universal energy or that expanded energy also comes back to us in waves. And so like the ocean, we send our heart song out into the world in the way that only we can sing it. And the universe sends loving, responding energy back to us. And so we are both the universal energy and an individual sharing their heart song into the world at the same time. And we let go of any holding on to how big we can be or how small we should be. Simply let ourselves float without worrying about the definitions. And as we get to this place of expanded awareness, I invite you to simply notice what is being called forward through you. What is asking you to open a portal? Maybe a word or a phrase, picture, a sound, simply noticing. And if you don't get it right now, you will later. Can't do it wrong. And I celebrate as we come to a close with the final two breaths, your spark, your divine design, your heart song in the world. With that, I invite you to one final, slow, settling, deep breath and welcome you back to our virtual space together.
Thank you so much, Teresa. What a perfect introduction to the next part of our discussion, exploring the techniques and practices for working with energy. That your activation really illustrated how powerful we are as energetic beings, and that when we are able to open and activate and integrate in presence with that energy, we recognize that we are a part of a much larger universal force field. And so, as many people in the old era have pursued spiritual practices such as yoga, Tai Chi, Qigong, other esoteric practices to feel more peaceful and calm and content in the world. The functions of these practices, which are all energetic practices, and many others, are utilized to create, to open pranic energy, to open our energy fields, and to create a more expansive space for new energy patterns to surface, to emerge. And they begin in the body. And when we begin to expand these energetic spaces within our body, in classical traditional yoga tradition, there's reference to that being representative of the first knot being opened, being broken. And in that context, the expansion of energy serves to expand and support our awareness and our consciousness with more of the interior aspects of who we are as energetic beings. And so these practices break our identification with the body. And when this happens, the first knot is broken. And this is what allows our awareness to become much more conscious of itself as an energy field. And so in this way, we begin to experience ourselves as the movement inside of our being, as a vibration, a frequency. And so practices that we will work with and play with might include EFT, emotional freedom technique, or tapping, or working with energy points, the use of pendulums, the intuitive practices, maybe exploring the use of oracle cards, different energetic practices so that you can really feel attuned to it, time and nature. And so when we begin to move into the core aspects of personal transformation, we often, as these new energetic spaces are created within us, we begin to naturally experience potential resistances, and which can pose obstacles and barriers to our transformative process. And so what we might begin to become aware of are perceptions, attitudes, beliefs, stories. And these are built on assumptions that become embedded in our behavior. And so these are reactions, thinking, responses, which are generally based in childhood perceptions and assessments of our experiences, how we're conditioned to think the difference between right or wrong, good or bad, the contrast and the duality. We might also find resistance energetically arising in the way that it can be identified as an ancestral pattern, a pattern that has been carried forward from generation to generation. There's also the possibility that if we've experienced childhood trauma or any micro or macro level trauma in our life, that depending on how we perceive that experience, that could result in some aspect of our soul being fragmented. And so these are all potential obstacles to transformation that appear when something in our deeper internal energy field, our deeper subconscious, is triggered within us. And so we're going to be looking at in this course the tools to resolve obstacles and blocks to transformation. And we'll address the theme of trauma. When trauma creates PTSD, we'll learn to become very trauma sensitive in our approach to how we support a client, and know that we have an opportunity, even with a client that has experienced trauma in their life, to really look at a way of supporting a client to support post-traumatic growth. And the scientific research validates, and there's a growing body of interest in the field of trauma work that supports transformation and the potential and capacity for transformative growth post-trauma. And so with a new mindset, we reframe perspectives and create practices where we can support others and take steps towards supporting them in whatever their experience has been. The other theme that can arise is, which we all experience, is negative self-talk. We've all lived with it, we've all experienced it. And we know that what can happen when we experience a lot of negative self-talk is we feel defeated, we feel deflated, lack of motivation. We can begin to create adaptive behaviors that result in self-sabotage, self-doubt, feelings of helplessness, pessimism, resistance. And so the course is going to help us recognize the 4 types of negative self-talk. And maybe you could even think of an example. One that I've worked with for myself has been, well, I failed before, it didn't work then. So if I try again, will it fail again? So there's a theme of self-talk in that. So understanding the 4 main types of negative self-talk and being supported with practices that we can try on and approaches to create more space, more energetic space between our thoughts and our daily negative self-talk or our chatter that drags us down. These are really exceptional skills for any coach to have in support of the whole being of the clients that we serve. And so I'm reminded, and I'll just close with a quote: we cannot change our thoughts at first, but we can change how we talk to ourselves once we are aware of our negative chatter. And so, Michelle, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you for the beautiful advice, both of you ladies, and that beautiful meditation, Teresa.
Mm-hmm.
So we have seen a great deal of research recently in resilience, and we want to encourage all of you listening to this presentation to take some time to do a little research, maybe a podcast, and increase your wisdom around resilience. There are a number of tried and true practices. And once we understand some of the theories, we can change our mindset around the negative or debilitating impact of things that make us shrink, right? And to be able to offer resilience inside our own practices for ourselves, and then in community, in family, and shift patterns that happen throughout society with that focus on learning from adversity. And as you were saying, trauma-informed growth, whether it's a small little incident of your second grade teacher, right, that said you were too loud when you gave your book report, that still lingers in your subconscious, to any number of things. But it is very worthwhile to take a look at the resilience, as we were talking about the research, talking about sharing our stories, providing exercises, maybe even rituals around that, and then being able to take it into our own practice, our own reflection, our own journaling, and then again, being able to work with each other and practice leading exercises and discussions about it. We want to take some time to understand and deepen our appreciation for purpose, getting to that deeper why within us, to be able to really understand our own values, our passions, our gifts, to be more of who we are, to unblock anything that keeps us small, set down any of those rocks, and really be able to step into our own power. We are all a little seed, right? And we're blossoming. And we want to really accelerate and move into that full potential, as the name of this course is, in both our transformational process, our coaching process, and embodying those skills in all areas of our life, to be able to understand how to facilitate change and support people, and also to own ourselves as leaders and mystics moving forward. I'll remind you, in this course, this webinar course, there is a PDF attached that has all of the summaries of the 6 modules and all of the objectives, and you will find a rich resource in that list for you to take a look at and to gain some wisdom from this webinar and our combined resources and some of our ideas on how to optimally expand into our full potential. It is our belief that you are a mystic, and that actually every one of us is a mystic that is born into this body, this being human experience. And so we're going to talk about what that looks like and embolden each other to own our full awakening, our full potential. One of the main aspects of that is that we do it in community. Yes, there is our personal growth and development, but at this point in our evolution as humanity, we recognize that there is a potential that blossoms and new possibilities arise that don't exist in our own personal experience. And so we are intending to build a community from this long course, from this master course, as well as a variety of webinars and resources that we are hoping to put together here on a Mighty Network community platform. Invite those who are interested in ongoing relationship building, ongoing practice together, ongoing sharing resources, your own wisdom, and participating in short or long committed exercises, courses, workshops, to be able to continue to support each other as we move forward. Here's a bit of our contact information. And we are utterly delighted to be able to offer this information this evening, and we appreciate the feedback. I'm going to invite here, we'll stop sharing our Nina and Teresa to offer some comments, and then I'll offer those of us who are live, I'll stop the recording in a moment to stay on and maybe have a conversation on the behind the scenes. So I'll turn it over. Teresa, if you want to offer a few words of wisdom, and I'll let you close us out, Nina.
Sounds good. Thank you, Michelle. Yeah, what a pleasure. What an opportunity to expand. Just even in this conversation, I feel new wisdom was created. A new portal was opened every time we gather with this intention of helping usher in the new era. And so I appreciate just the gathering and also the feeling of the ripples of a decision that Nina made many years ago and Michelle joined, and it has continued to grow. I've had the good fortune of stepping into, and I hope that it's an inspiration to those watching and listening about how one small choice can lead to many others that continue to expand our heart song into the world. So that's what I offer in closing. So great to be with you all.
Thank you both. I too feel the expansion, and it truly is our most devout mission and heart song to build global community and to really support on a very conscious level, strictly in the theme of being human and what it is to be human in a world that is evolving. And as the world evolves, so are we. And we're here to bring an empowered, uplifted model of transformation and facilitative leadership to the world in a most unique and dynamic way. We believe, and we've received feedback, that what we're creating is a most robust model that integrates several different disciplines, cutting across the most profound theory of change psychology, facilitation and leadership, masterful advanced coaching, and introducing the dynamics of energy in the context of who we are in our divine birthright as energetic beings embodied in soul and spirit, having this unique human experience. And so we're here to make the most of it. And we're here to support and walk with all of those who feel called to join us in this journey in building global community. So thank you so much for joining us this evening, and we look forward and hope to see you soon.
Thank you. Blessings to all.
Mm.